Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. Behind you, the life you've always known, the comfort, the struggle, the routine. In front of you, possibility, growth, a future so powerful it can redefine who you are. But here's the thing. It's not about luck. It's not about talent. It's about one decision. One moment where you stop hesitating and choose to break through. Some of the most successful, happiest, and wealthiest people in the world were once at the same crossroads you are today. They weren't born with special powers. They just made a choice. And that's what this is about. You are one decision away from a completely different life. So the real question is, are you ready to decide, step one, the power of a single choice? Every major transformation in life, every breakthrough, and every moment of triumph can be traced back to a single choice. A single decision that altered the course of everything that followed. It might not have seemed monumental at the time, but looking back, you realize it was the turning point, the moment when everything started to shift. Think about it. Every extraordinary success story begins with a decision. The decision to take a risk, to believe in oneself, to step into the unknown despite fear and uncertainty. Some of the most powerful leaders, innovators, and world changers were not born into greatness. They chose it. They stood at a crossroads, faced adversity, and made a decision that set them on a completely different trajectory. A person struggling with their health doesn't wake up one day and suddenly become fit, full of energy, and confident. It starts with a choice to stop settling for mediocrity, to take control, to commit to a new standard. That single choice to step into the gym, to eat better, to stop making excuses, is what creates momentum. And that momentum turns into transformation. The same is true for relationships. Some of the strongest, deepest connections don't just happen, they are built through conscious decisions. The decision to communicate instead of shutting down. The decision to prioritize love over ego. The decision to show up, even when it's hard. Even financial success, which so many people believe is purely about opportunity or luck, comes down to the choices you make. The decision to invest in yourself, the decision to stop wasting time and start taking action, the decision to learn, to grow, to break free from limiting beliefs that have kept you stuck. But here's what's fascinating. Most people don't even realize when they're making these life-altering decisions. They assume the big dramatic moments are what define their destiny, but in reality, it's often the small, seemingly insignificant choices that lead to the greatest changes. Choosing to wake up early instead of hitting snooze. Choosing to pick up a book instead of mindlessly scrolling through your phone. Choosing to reach out to someone who inspires you instead of staying in your comfort zone. Every single day you are making choices. And those choices are either moving you toward the life you want or keeping you stuck exactly where you are. Step two, the fork in the road. Life constantly presents us with moments where we stand at a crossroads, faced with two distinct paths. These moments don't always come with flashing neon signs or dramatic music in the background. In fact, they often seem small, almost ordinary. But in reality, they hold immense power. Because the direction you choose in those moments determines everything that follows. Think about it. Every time you hesitate, every time you wonder whether to take action or stay where you are, you're at a fork in the road. One path leads to growth, to new experiences, to the unknown. The other leads to comfort, familiarity, and staying the same. This is where most people get stuck. The road they've always walked is safe, it's predictable, it doesn't require much effort because they've traveled it so many times before. But that's also the road that leads to regret, frustration, and a life that feels like it's just happening rather than being created. The other path, that's the one that forces you to step up. It demands courage. It requires you to face fear, uncertainty, and resistance. But it's also the road that leads to everything you've ever wanted. Every success story, every breakthrough, every moment of transformation came from someone choosing the difficult path. the one less traveled, the one that felt uncomfortable but necessary. And people think these forks in the road only come at major life events, choosing a career, ending or beginning a relationship, making a big investment. But they actually happen every single day in ways you might not even notice. Do you push through the workout when your body wants to quit, or do you give up? Do you take the risk and put yourself out there, or do you hold back because of fear? Do you have the tough conversation that could change everything, or do you avoid it and let things stay the same? The truth is, most people don't make these decisions consciously. They let their emotions decide for them. If they feel tired, they choose the easier path. If they feel afraid, they retreat. If they feel uncertain, they hesitate. But the people who create extraordinary lives, they don't let their emotions dictate their choices. They recognize that every moment presents an opportunity to choose differently, to break free from old patterns, to take control instead of being controlled by fear, doubt, or hesitation. At every stage of life, there's a fork in the road. One path keeps you in the cycle you already know, giving you more of the same. The other forces you to stretch, to grow, to become something more than you were yesterday. Step 3, emotions drive decisions. Every decision you've ever made, every action you've ever taken has been driven by emotion. You might think you're making logical, rational choices, but at the core of every decision is a feeling, a deep emotional pull that determines which direction you take. That's because human beings are not just thinking creatures. We are feeling creatures who think. Emotion is the driving force behind everything we do, whether we realize it or not. Think about the last time you made a major decision. Maybe it was a career move, a relationship choice, or even a financial investment. Did you sit down and calculate every possible outcome with pure logic, removing all feelings from the equation? Or was there a moment when something inside you just felt right or completely wrong? That feeling, that inner force pushing you in a certain direction was emotion shaping your decision. This is why two people in the exact same situation can make completely different choices. One person faced with adversity might feel determined, seeing the challenge as an opportunity to grow. Another, facing that same adversity, might feel overwhelmed, viewing it as a reason to give up. The situation is the same. The difference is the emotion each person is experiencing in that moment. The emotions we attach to different experiences shape the way we respond to them. If you associate fear with taking risks, you'll hesitate when opportunities arise. If you associate excitement with challenges, you'll chase them down with energy. This is why so many people struggle to make progress. They believe their problem is external, when in reality it's the emotional meaning they've attached to the situation. Take someone who wants to lose weight. They know what to do: eat healthier, exercise consistently, but they don't follow through. Why? Because their emotions are driving their action. If they associate pain with working out, if they feel frustration every time they step on the scale, if they feel discouraged instead of empowered, they won't take the necessary steps. Even if they logically know what to do, their emotions will override logic every single time. The same principle applies to financial success. Some people stay stuck in a cycle of struggle because emotionally they associate wealth with stress, uncertainty, or even guilt. Others break through and create financial freedom because they associate wealth with opportunity, impact, and security. It's not about intelligence or skill. It's about the emotions driving their financial decisions. Even in relationships, emotions dictate how we show up. When people feel valued, connected, and appreciated, they naturally invest more effort into their relationships. But when they feel ignored, unimportant, or misunderstood, they pull away. The relationship itself isn't necessarily the issue. It's the emotions that people experience within it that determine whether they stay, fight, or walk away. This is why the most successful people in the world don't just work on their strategies, they work on their emotions. They understand that if they can master their emotional state, they can control their decisions. They don't wait to feel motivated to take action. They create the emotions that drive them forward. They don't allow fear, doubt, or frustration to dictate their choices. They shift their emotional state to one that empowers them. Most people go through life believing their emotions are random, uncontrollable forces that just happen to them. But emotions can be trained, rewired, and redirected. The key is recognizing that the way you feel in any given moment is shaping your decisions. And if you can shift your emotions, you can shift your entire life. Step 4, pain versus pleasure principle. Everything you do, every action you take, every habit you form, every decision you make is based on two forces, the drive to avoid pain or the desire to gain pleasure. This is the core of human behavior, the foundation of every choice you've ever made. Whether you realize it or not, your brain is constantly calculating which path to take, and it will always lean toward what it believes will bring more pleasure and less pain. Think about it. Why do people struggle to break bad habits even when they know those habits are destructive? Because at some level they associate more pain with changing than staying the same. Someone who smokes, for example, might logically understand that quitting is the best decision for their health, but emotionally they associate quitting with stress, discomfort, and loss of enjoyment. Their brain registers more pain in giving up cigarettes than in continuing the habit, so they keep doing it, even if they say they want to quit. On the other hand, why do some people push through intense challenges and achieve incredible success? Because for them, the pain of staying the same is far greater than the pain of growth. They've conditioned themselves to feel more discomfort in stagnation than in pushing through difficulty. When someone hits rock bottom, when they reach a point where the pain of their current situation becomes unbearable, that's when they finally make a change. That's when they take massive action. Because suddenly the pain of staying where they are outweighs the pain of change. This principle applies to everything: finances, relationships, health, career. Take money, for example. Why do some people stay broke their entire lives? It's not because they lack opportunity, it's because they associate more pain with doing what it takes to build wealth, learning new skills, making sacrifices, taking risks, than they do with staying in their comfort zone. The pain of uncertainty, failure, or rejection is greater in their minds than the pain of financial struggle, so they stay where they are. Meanwhile, wealthy individuals have conditioned themselves to associate pleasure with growth, discipline, and smart financial decisions. Look at relationships. People stay in toxic, unfulfilling relationships not because they don't want better, but because they associate more pain with leaving than staying. They fear loneliness, change, or emotional discomfort more than they fear the long-term pain of a dysfunctional relationship. But those who cultivate powerful, fulfilling relationships do so because they've linked pleasure to open communication, vulnerability, and deep connection. Things that might feel uncomfortable at first, but ultimately lead to joy and fulfillment. Even in something as simple as fitness, this principle is at work. Why do so many people struggle with their health? Because their brain associates more pain with working out and eating clean than with being out of shape. They focus on the discomfort of the gym, the effort of meal prepping, the frustration of discipline. But those who transform their bodies do so because they've flipped the equation. They've linked pain to being unhealthy, tired, and out of shape, and they've linked pleasure to movement, strength, and vitality. The truth is, pain and pleasure are not objective, they are subjective. Perceptions that can be rewired. What one person sees as unbearable pain, another sees as a challenge worth taking on. What one person finds pleasurable, another might avoid completely. The secret to lasting change is not willpower. It's rewiring the way you link pain and pleasure. If you can train your brain to associate massive pain with bad habits and incredible pleasure with good habits, change becomes automatic. It's not about forcing yourself, it's about shifting the meaning you attach to things. This is why some people break free from cycles of addiction, poverty, or mediocrity, while others stay stuck. They reach a point where the pain of their current reality is so strong that they must change. They no longer see growth, discipline, and risk as painful. Instead, they see them as the gateway to the pleasure they truly seek. Step 6, massive action follows commitment. The moment you make a real commitment, an absolute, unwavering, no turning back decision, everything changes. Suddenly, hesitation disappears. Fear takes a back seat. Doubt no longer has the power to paralyze you. Why? Because when you are truly committed, action is no longer optional, it's automatic. Massive action doesn't come from wishful thinking, from hoping things will work out, or from waiting for the perfect moment. It comes from the kind of decision where there is no other option but to move forward. Most people never get to this level of commitment. They say they want to change, they say they want more out of life, but they leave themselves an escape route. They set goals, but in the back of their mind, they give themselves permission to fail. They allow doubt to creep in, thinking, if this doesn't work out, I'll try something else. And because they never fully commit, they never take the kind of relentless, unstoppable action that leads to real results. But when someone makes a true burn the boats decision, action becomes inevitable. Think about moments in your life when you had no choice but to act. Maybe it was an emergency. Maybe it was a moment of crisis. Maybe it was when everything was on the line. In those moments, you didn't sit around waiting for motivation. You didn't procrastinate. You took action because there was no other alternative. That's the power of real commitment. It eliminates hesitation, destroys fear, and forces you to tap into a level of drive and determination you didn't even know you had. Look at any person who has achieved something extraordinary, and you'll find a moment where they committed at a level most people never do. Entrepreneurs who built empires didn't just hope their businesses would work, they committed fully with no backup plan. Athletes who became champions didn't just wish they could win, they decided they would and then trained like their life depended on it. Leaders, visionaries, and high achievers didn't just think about taking action, they took action so massive that success became inevitable. Massive action doesn't come from feeling motivated, it comes from a deep internal shift where you decide that nothing will stop you. It's the kind of commitment that makes failure unacceptable, that drives you to keep going even when things get hard. Because when you're truly committed, obstacles don't stop you. Challenges don't make you quit. Setbacks don't discourage you. Instead, they fuel you. They become stepping stones rather than roadblocks. People often wonder why they struggle to stay consistent, why they start something and then lose momentum. The reason is simple. They never fully committed in the first place. When you're just interested in something, you do it when it's convenient. When you're just curious about success, you take action only when you feel like it. But when you're committed, you do it no matter what. Whether you're tired, whether you're scared, whether you're overwhelmed, you take action anyway. And it's not just about working hard, it's about working with an intensity and urgency that most people never reach. Massive action means you're not just dipping your toes in, you're diving in head first. It means you don't just try once and give up, you keep pushing until you break through. It means you don't wait for conditions to be perfect, you make them perfect by taking relentless action. Most people spend their lives waiting for the right time, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting until they feel ready. But those who succeed don't wait. They decide, they commit so fully that their mind, body, and entire reality begin to shift in alignment with that decision. They step up, they push through, and they take action so massive that success becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Step 6, the ripple effect. Every decision you make, every action you take sends out a ripple that extends far beyond what you can see. You may think your choices only affect you, but the truth is they shape everything around you, your family, your friends, your community, even generations to come. One small decision can set off a chain reaction that changes the course of not just your life, but the lives of countless others. Think about it. One person decides to break free from a toxic cycle, and suddenly their entire family dynamic shifts. One individual chooses to chase a dream instead of settling for mediocrity, and they inspire hundreds, maybe thousands of people to do the same. One act of courage, one moment of stepping up, one commitment to a higher standard can create an impact so far-reaching that it outlives the person who made the choice in the first place. We see this everywhere in history. A single person stands up against injustice, and it sparks a movement. An inventor refuses to accept limitations, and their creation changes the world. A mentor takes the time to believe in someone, and that person goes on to change the course of an entire industry. It all starts with one decision, one action, one ripple that spreads further than anyone could have imagined. But this effect isn't just reserved for world leaders, visionaries, and history makers. It applies to you right now in your everyday life. Every time you choose discipline over laziness, you set an example for those around you. Every time you choose to operate with integrity, you show others what's possible. Every time you refuse to settle, you inspire someone else to do the same. Most people underestimate the power of their own influence. They think, I'm just one person, my choices don't really matter. But they do. You don't have to be famous, wealthy, or in a position of power to create a ripple effect. You simply have to make choices that elevate you. And by doing so, you give others permission to elevate themselves. Imagine a parent who decides to change their mindset, to stop living in fear and start leading with confidence. That single choice doesn't just affect them, it affects their children, shaping how they grow up, what they believe is possible, and how they approach life. Imagine a person who breaks free from a cycle of financial struggle and builds wealth for the first time in their family's history. That decision doesn't just impact them, it changes the trajectory of future generations. Even the smallest acts can have massive consequences. A kind word to a stranger could be the thing that keeps them going on their darkest day. A decision to start a business could create jobs for hundreds of people. A commitment to personal growth could lead to breakthroughs that ripple through an entire industry, and none of these ripples happen by accident. They happen because of a conscious choice to step up, take action, and lead by example. The most powerful thing about the ripple effect is that it works both ways. Just as positive decisions create waves of change, so do negative ones. A decision to procrastinate, to give in to fear, to stay stuck in self-doubt, those choices don't just hold you back, they hold back everyone who could have been inspired by your breakthrough. Every time someone chooses not to take action, not to pursue their potential, they send out ripples of inaction that influence others to do the same. This is why your decisions matter. Every choice you make either lifts the world up or keeps it stagnant. Every time you take action towards something greater, you create permission for others to do the same. Your energy, your mindset, your level of commitment, it all ripples outward in ways you can't even begin to measure. So when you make a decision, understand that it's never just about you. You are creating a wave, setting something in motion that will extend far beyond your own life. And long after you're gone, those ripples will still be moving, still shaping the world in ways you may never fully see. At the end of the day, everything comes down to one truth. You are always just one decision away from an entirely different life. The choices you make today will determine the future you wake up to tomorrow. The question is, are you making those choices with intention, Or are you letting fear, doubt, and hesitation decide for you? The fork in the road is always in front of you. Will you stay on the path of comfort, or will you choose the road that forces you to grow? Your emotions will try to sway you, but remember, you are not your feelings. You are the one in control. Pain and pleasure will always pull at you, but if you rewire how you perceive them, you can use them as fuel instead of chains. And when you truly commit, when you burn the boats, cut off retreat, and decide that failure is not an option, that's when everything shifts. That's when you step into the version of yourself that you were always meant to be. That's when you stop hoping, stop waiting, and start taking massive, relentless action. Because this isn't just about you. Every action you take creates a ripple effect, impacting the lives of people you may never even meet. Your courage, your discipline, your commitment, it all spreads. And one day you'll look back and realize that the decision you made today wasn't just the one that changed your life, it was the one that changed everything.